Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take the most impactful reports and cutting-edge research, strip away the jargon, and hand you the truly essential insights. Today, we're plunging into a topic that's not just buzzworthy, but absolutely central to how every business will operate in the coming years. Generative AI. You've seen it everywhere, right?
Absolutely. It's unavoidable.
It's in your newsfeed and the tools you might already be using, and certainly a hot topic in every boardroom. The headlines promise a new era of unprecedented efficiency and radical innovation.
And yet, despite all that widespread adoption and significant investment, here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a little concerning. A recent McKinsey report reveals that nearly 8 out of 10 companies, that's over 80%, are reporting no material contribution to their earnings from their Gen AI initiatives.
Wow, 8 out of 10, that's stark.
It's a stark reality check. We have widespread deployment, massive enthusiasm, but for most, a minimal tangible return. This is what they're calling the Gen AI paradox.
So we have this intriguing paradox. Okay, let's peel back the layers. Our mission in this deep dive is to truly understand it. We're going to unpack this fascinating McKinsey report, Seizing the Agentic AI Advantage, a CEO Playbook to solve the Gen AI paradox and unlock scalable impact with AI agents, published just this June 2025.
And it's worth noting it even features a foreword from Arthur Mensch, the CEO of Mistral AI. He suggests that the current state of AI is often merely bolted on rather than deeply integrated into the business.
Bolted on. I like that. So we'll explore precisely why this paradox exists and, crucially, how a new frontier in artificial intelligence, what the report calls Agentic AI, can be the catalyst for real business transformation and unlock measurable value.
Yeah, moving beyond just, chatbots and summaries.
Exactly. We'll look at concrete examples and actionable insights from this playbook designed for leaders like you listening in. So what does this all mean for the future of work in your organization? Let's find out. So we've laid out this perplexing paradox. Gen AI is everywhere, but for most companies, it's notably absent from the profit and loss statement. It helps to look back a bit first. Before Gen AI burst onto the scene, traditional AI had already established a crucial foothold in enterprises.
Right, we're talking about the more established stuff, sophisticated algorithms that power capabilities like advanced prediction, classification, optimization.
Think about how traditional AI has been used for years. Personalizing email campaigns, segmenting customers to target specific demographics in marketing, scoring leads to prioritize sales efforts, or optimizing inventory levels and forecasting demand in complex supply chains. These were, and still are, incredibly valuable applications.
Absolutely. And a critical point to consider is that even before Gen AI, traditional AI already represented an immense global value potential. McKinsey estimated it at a staggering $11 trillion to $18 trillion.
That's huge.
It is. However, it largely remained the domain of specialists. Data scientists, machine learning engineers, a handful of experts were the ones building and deploying these solutions.
Right. Not exactly something everyone in the company was using daily.
Exactly. This meant that adoption across the broader workforce was quite slow. McKinsey research from 2018 to 2022 actually showed that AI adoption remained stagnant for a period, with only about 50% of companies using it in just one business function. It was powerful, yes, but often a niche capability not truly integrated into the daily fabric of the organization.
Then came Gen AI, and it truly revolutionized the game. This wasn't just an incremental improvement. It dramatically extended traditional AI's reach with 3 key new capabilities. Synthesizing vast amounts of information, generating diverse content like text, code, or images, and perhaps most importantly, communicating in natural human language.
That last one was the kicker, wasn't it?
It really was. Suddenly, AI wasn't just for experts behind closed doors. It was accessible to virtually anyone with a keyboard. This added an estimated, $2.6 trillion to $4.4 trillion in value potential on top of traditional AI.
A significant jump. And the launch of ChatGPT 2.5 years ago was the true game changer, completely reshaping how enterprises and indeed the public engaged with AI. It democratized access to these advanced technologies.
It really did. It led to widespread awareness and rapid experimentation. McKinsey's most recent global survey on AI from March 2025 confirmed this explosion. Over 78% of companies are now using Gen AI in at least one business function. That's a massive jump from 55% just a year prior. Everyone, it seems, is dabbling.
Everyone's playing with it, which begs the question, if adoption is so widespread, if nearly 4 out of 5 companies are using Gen AI, why isn't it translating into meaningful results? This is the core of the unmet promise, the Gen AI paradox, in action.
Yeah, where's the money?
Exactly. Despite all this enthusiasm, energy, and deployment, the tangible economic results are largely missing. As we mentioned, more than 80% of companies still report no material contribution to earnings from their Gen AI initiatives. And what's even more telling is that only 1%, just 1%, of the surveyed enterprises actually view their Gen AI strategies as mature.
1%. That's sobering.
It is. This isn't just about small gains, it's about a fundamental disconnect between effort and outcome. Companies are investing, experimenting, and deploying, but for the most part, that investment isn't showing up on the bottom line at a scalable level.
So it's like they're using it, but not really leveraging it strategically.
That seems to be a big part of it. The insight here is that Gen AI, when simply bolted on to existing processes, often hits an invisible wall of deeply ingrained habits and structures. It's not just a tech problem, it's a testament to how profoundly resistant organizations can be to true reinvention, even when the potential benefits seem massive.
So if it's not showing up in the bottom line, what exactly are companies doing with all this Gen AI? Well, at the heart of this paradox, according to McKinsey, is the imbalance between what they call horizontal and vertical use cases.
Okay, let's break that down.
Right. Many organizations have rapidly jumped on the horizontal use cases. These are the enterprise-wide solutions, like general-purpose copilots and chatbots, designed to assist a wide array of employees across different functions. A prime example is Microsoft 365 Copilot. Apparently, nearly 70% of Fortune 500 companies are now using it.
Yeah, those are the tools that are easy to roll out, right? They're appealing because they're often off the shelf and relatively easy to implement.
Makes sense.
And a particularly compelling aspect of these horizontal tools is that they are indeed seen as productivity enhancers. They help employees save time on routine tasks, drafting emails, summarizing documents, brainstorming ideas, quickly accessing information from internal knowledge bases, and those improvements are real.
People feel more productive individually?
Exactly. Individual employees do feel a boost in their daily efficiency. However, the gains are diffused thinly across many, many employees. Think of it like a light drizzle of efficiency across the entire organization, rather than a concentrated, measurable downpour in a specific area.
Good analogy.
This makes it incredibly difficult to measure their direct impact on top or bottom line results in a way that truly moves the needle for the entire company's P&L. It feels good, maybe helps morale, but the business case for widespread, tangible ROI becomes murky.
That's a crucial distinction. In contrast, vertical use cases, which are deeply embedded into specific business functions and processes, have seen very limited scaling in most companies. This is despite their much higher potential for direct economic impact.
And that's where the real value is supposed to be unlocked.
Precisely. The report points out that fewer than 10% of these higher impact use cases ever make it past the pilot stage.
Wow, only 10% survive the pilot phase.
Yeah. And even when they're fully deployed, they typically support only isolated steps of a business process, operating reactively when prompted by a human, rather than proactively or autonomously managing a sequence of tasks. This inherent limitation significantly restricts their overall business performance impact.
So they're not really transforming the whole process, just speeding up one little piece.
Exactly, preventing them from driving the kind of deep, measurable change that transforms an entire function or value chain.
Okay, so to illustrate this further, we can draw from Exhibit 2 in the report, which lays out this distinction very clearly. Think about the horizontal examples. These are broad, general applications. Generating meeting minutes, for instance, or writing basic emails, translating text.
Stuff anyone might do.
Right. General idea generation for marketing, summarizing research trends for anyone in the company, and those large enterprise-wide copilots like Microsoft 365 Copilot, Google Workspace AI, or Zoom AI Companion. Even internal deployments of general-purpose chatbots such as ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude fall into this category. They are about enhancing individual human productivity across the board.
And on the flip side, the vertical examples are much more function-specific, designed to be deeply integrated and transformative. Imagine a sales negotiation assistant, maybe suggesting optimal levers or counterarguments during a complex deal based on past data and real-time context.
Or a supply risk assessor automatically generating risk profiles for procurement, analyzing geopolitical events or supplier financial health data from multiple sources.
Yeah, or we're talking about a sales assistant that doesn't just draft an email, but actively prioritizes accounts based on complex data, predicting churn risk or upsell potential. Or a customer support assistant that provides not just suggested replies, but comprehensive, context-aware solutions, maybe even initiating a refund or replacement automatically.
Then there's a research curator auto-tagging scientific articles for R&D based on complex taxonomies, an RFP generator that composes complete requests for proposals for procurement based on templates and past successful bids.
A sophisticated demand forecaster for the supply chain that goes beyond simple historical data, incorporating external factors like weather or social trends.
Or an insights provider for marketing, proactively identifying emerging trends based on real-time KPIs and competitor activity. These are not about saving a few minutes here and there. They're about fundamentally changing how a core business process delivers value and makes decisions.
So the natural next step is to ask, why have the horizontal solutions won early while the vertical ones struggle so much to scale?
Well, the rapid deployment of horizontal tools is often down to their accessibility as off-the-shelf solutions and their relative ease of implementation. Like you said, enabling Microsoft Copilot can be as simple as activating an extension to an existing cloud software contract. Minimal workflow redesign, minimal deep integration needed initially.
Less friction to get started.
Much less. Furthermore, remember when employees began experimenting with public LLMs, large language models, like ChatGPT on their own? Many organizations rapidly implemented internal secure alternatives. That was partly to limit data leakage and ensure compliance, which also drove the quick adoption of these managed enterprise-wide tools. They were a convenient and relatively low-risk first step.
Makes sense. But for those high-impact vertical use cases, the barriers to scaling are indeed significant. McKinsey identifies 6 key factors limiting their widespread deployment. First up, fragmented initiatives.
The pilot purgatory problem.
Exactly. Many vertical use cases often originate from a bottom-up, granular approach within individual functions or departments. A team identifies a specific problem they want to solve with AI, builds a prototype, maybe gets some local success. But fewer than 30% of companies actually report direct CEO sponsorship of their AI agenda.
Which is critical for anything major.
Right. This leads to a proliferation of disconnected micro-initiatives and dispersed AI investments with limited enterprise-level coordination. It's a bit like having 100 small independent gardens instead of a centrally planned farm. Each might yield something, but it doesn't add up to feeding the whole organization efficiently or strategically.
A critical takeaway here is the second barrier, a fundamental lack of mature packaged solutions. Unlike those off-the-shelf horizontal tools, vertical use cases almost always require custom development, tailored to a company's unique processes, data, and logic.
You can't just buy AI for our specific widget manufacturing process?
Pretty much. This means teams are frequently forced to build from scratch with emerging, fast-evolving technologies they have limited experience with. Companies might have talented data scientists who can build brilliant prototypes, but they often lack MLOps engineers. MLOps engineers are vital. They're the ones who build the pipelines and systems that take a brilliant AI prototype from an experiment to a robust, continuously updated, monitored solution running reliably in your daily operations.
The industrialization part.
Exactly. Without them, even a breakthrough concept remains stuck in pilot purgatory, never scaling properly.
Then there are the technological limitations of first-generation LLMs themselves, which we touched on earlier. While impressive, they face significant hurdles for mission-critical applications. They could produce hallucinations, plausible but inaccurate outputs, making them difficult to trust where precision and repeatability are critical, like in finance or compliance.
That trust factor is huge.
Absolutely. They were also fundamentally passive. They wouldn't act unless prompted by a human and couldn't independently drive complex workflows or make decisions without constant human initiation.
Like a very smart but very lazy assistant.
Yeah, something like that. Plus, they struggled with complex multi-step workflows involving decision points or branching logic, which are common in real-world business processes. And finally, many current LLMs had limited persistent memory, making it difficult to track context over time or operate coherently across extended interactions. You are constantly reprompting or re-explaining, limiting their autonomy.
This leads us to a fundamental question about organizational structure. Siloed AI teams, AI centers of excellence, while useful for rapid prototyping and accelerating awareness across the organization, often operate in isolation from core business functions and IT infrastructure.
Kind of like an R&D lab separate from the factory floor.
Sort of, yeah. This can lead to poor integration with core enterprise systems, fragmented data pipelines that don't connect seamlessly, and a general lack of operational alignment. This autonomy, while good for quick experiments and building niche expertise, often makes it incredibly difficult to scale solutions across the organization, as they aren't designed with enterprise-wide deployment and integration in mind from day one.
And of course, we can't forget about data accessibility and quality gaps. This is a foundational issue. Always seems to come back to data, doesn't it?
Always. These issues exist for both structured data like what you'd find in a database and unstructured data such as emails, documents, images, voice recordings, and that unstructured material remains largely ungoverned in most organizations.
A huge untapped resource, but also a mess.
Precisely. If your data isn't clean, accessible, well-managed, and consistently available, even the most advanced AI won't be able to deliver on its promise. It's like trying to bake a cake with rotten ingredients. No matter how good your oven, the result will be poor.
And finally, there's cultural apprehension and organizational inertia. This is the implicit resistance from business teams and middle management.
The human factor.
Definitely. Think about middle managers whose roles might shift dramatically. This isn't just about learning new tools, it's about a potential redefinition of their value, which naturally breeds hesitation and resistance. There's fear of disruption, uncertainty about job impact, and simply a lack of familiarity with the new technology. People are naturally hesitant when new tools fundamentally change how they work, especially if they perceive it as a threat rather than an opportunity.
You can't underestimate that inertia. However, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's crucial to understand that despite this limited bottom-line impact so far, the first wave of Gen AI was far from wasted. It actually served as a vital, large-scale organizational learning experience.
Okay, so it wasn't a failure, just phase one.
Exactly. It significantly enriched employee capabilities, enabling broad experimentation across functions that would have been unthinkable a few years prior. It accelerated AI familiarity throughout organizations, getting people comfortable with prompting and seeing AI's potential firsthand. And critically, it helped companies build essential foundational capabilities in areas like prompt engineering, model evaluation, and early governance frameworks. This initial phase has effectively laid the groundwork for a more integrated and truly transformative second phase, what we're now calling the emerging age of AI agents. It was a necessary learning period, a stepping stone to something far more impactful.
That sheds light on the problem. But the good news is, the report offers a powerful solution, a fundamental shift in how we think about AI. And this brings us directly into Chapter 2, From Paradox to Payoff, where we explore how agents can scale AI. This is where it gets really interesting. First-generation LLMs, as we discussed, revolutionize how organizations interact with data, allowing for information synthesis, content generation, natural language interaction. But they remain fundamentally reactive.
Right. You poke them, they respond.
Exactly. You typed a prompt, they responded. They were isolated from broader enterprise systems, largely unable to retain memory or context across extended sessions, and their role was largely limited to enhancing individual productivity through those isolated tasks. They were brilliant, but passive.
AI agents, however, mark a major evolution. This is the breakthrough. They extend Gen AI from reactive content generation to autonomous, goal-driven execution. Imagine an AI that doesn't just answer your question, but understands a high-level objective you give it.
Like optimize our European logistics costs for Q3.
Precisely. Then it breaks that objective down into a series of subtasks, figures out what tools or systems it needs to interact with, maybe ERP, maybe weather APIs, maybe supplier portals, executes those actions, continuously monitors its progress against the goal, and adapts in real time to achieve that goal, all with minimal human intervention.
Wow. So it's not just answering, it's doing.
It's doing. This is achieved by combining LMs with additional technology components like persistent memory modules to recall context over time, planning modules to strategize and break down complex goals, orchestration layers to coordinate multiple steps and even multiple agents, and deep integration capabilities with various enterprise systems via APIs or other means. They are truly designed to act.
So what does this mean for our horizontal and vertical solutions we talked about?
Well, agents expand the potential of horizontal solutions considerably. They can upgrade general-purpose co-pilots from passive tools that wait for your command into proactive teammates. Imagine a co-pilot that monitors your sales dashboards, identifies an anomaly, maybe triggers a workflow automatically to investigate, and delivers real-time insights to you without even being asked.
It's like a proactive analyst sitting on your shoulder?
Sort of, yeah. But the true breakthrough and the key to solving the Gen AI paradox is in the vertical realm. Agentic AI enables the automation of complex, multi-step business workflows that involve multiple actors, multiple systems, and dynamic decision-making processes that were previously far beyond the capabilities of those first-generation Gen AI tools because they lacked autonomy, planning, and persistence.
This is where the scalable, measurable value truly comes from.
Exactly. This transformation goes beyond mere efficiency, though. While agents certainly take on routine, data-heavy tasks, freeing humans for higher value, more strategic work, their impact goes much deeper. Agents transform processes in 5 key ways. First, they accelerate execution. By eliminating the delays that typically occur between tasks in a human-driven workflow and enabling parallel processing. Unlike traditional workflows that often rely on sequential human handoffs, I finish my part, email it to you, you pick it up tomorrow. Agents can coordinate and execute multiple steps simultaneously, significantly reducing cycle time and boosting responsiveness, sometimes dramatically shortening lead times from weeks to days or days to hours.
Okay, faster. What else?
Second, they bring adaptability. By continuously ingesting real-time data from various sources, market changes, internal system updates, customer feedback agents can adjust process flows on the fly.
So they can react to changes automatically.
Yes, this means they can restuffle task sequences, reassign priorities based on new information, or flag anomalies before they cascade into larger failures, making workflows not only faster but inherently smarter and more responsive to changing conditions. Third, agents enable deep personalization at scale.
Tailoring things individually.
Right. They can tailor interactions and decisions to individual customer profiles or behaviors, dynamically adapting processes to maximize satisfaction and outcomes. Imagine a truly personalized experience at scale where every interaction feels bespoke, automatically adjusted to your current needs and preferences, not based on crude segments, but on you.
That sounds powerful. What's number 4?
Fourth, agents bring elasticity to operations. Being purely digital, agents' execution capacity can expand or contract in real time depending on workload, business seasonality, or unexpected surges in demand. Think Black Friday sales or a sudden service outage.
So you don't need to hire temps or have people sitting idle.
Exactly. This flexibility is incredibly difficult and expensive to achieve with fixed human resource models, where scaling up or down takes time and significant investment. Agents can scale almost instantly. And fifth, agents make operations more resilient.
How do they improve resilience?
They can continuously monitor for disruptions, supply chain issues, system outages, sudden spikes in negative sentiment online. They can quickly reroute operations if a problem arises, maybe switch suppliers automatically or reroute logistics, and escalate to a human only when absolutely necessary. This keeps processes running smoothly. Whether it's supply chains navigating port delays caused by unexpected weather or service workflows adapting instantly to system outages, agents provide a critical layer of operational stability.
Okay, to give you a concrete example of this transformative power, let's revisit that supply chain orchestration idea. Imagine a vast, incredibly complex global supply chain, multiple continents, hundreds of suppliers, distributors, logistics partners.
A real headache to manage traditionally.
Totally. An AI agent could act as an autonomous orchestration layer across sourcing, warehousing, and distribution. It's not just a tool you prompt, it's a layer of ambient intelligence constantly working, connected to internal systems like supply chain planning and warehouse management, and external data such as real-time weather forecasts, live supplier feeds, social media sentiment, evolving demand signals. This agent continuously forecasts demand.
Okay, so it's pulling in data from everywhere.
Everywhere relevant. It identifies risks like unexpected delays or potential disruptions, maybe a factory fire at a key supplier, and dynamically replans transport and inventory flows across the entire network in response. It can even select optimal transport modes based on real-time factors like cost, lead time, carbon emissions, and current capacity.
Making trade-offs automatically.
Right. It reallocates stock across warehouses to preempt shortages, maybe even negotiates electronically with external logistics systems for better rates or faster routes, and crucially, only escalates decisions that truly require strategic human input or a nuanced judgment call that's outside its parameters.
So humans handle the exceptions in strategy, not the day-to-day firefighting.
Exactly. The result: dramatically improve service levels for customers, significantly reduce logistics costs for the company, and even lower carbon emissions by optimizing transport. That's a fundamental shift in how a supply chain operates, moving from reactive to proactive and optimized.
What's truly revolutionary, though, is that agents don't just optimize existing processes, they also unlock entirely new revenue opportunities. They can spur top-line growth by amplifying existing revenue streams and creating entirely new ones.
Okay, tell me more about that. Amplifying first.
Right. Amplifying existing revenues. Consider an e-commerce platform. Agents embedded in the online store or mobile app could proactively analyze user behavior in real time, what they're clicking on, what's in their cart, how long they linger, plus wider context like seasonality or their past purchase history. Based on this rich picture, they could surface hyper-personalized, real-time upselling and cross-selling offers. Not just generic people also bought, but truly relevant recommendations that genuinely increase average order value.
More targeted than current systems.
Much more dynamic and individualized. Or in the financial sector, agents might proactively help customers discover suitable financial products like loans, insurance, or investment portfolios, providing tailored guidance based on their individual financial profiles, stated goals, and maybe even significant life events detected through interactions. It's personalized, proactive selling at scale, driven by intelligent action, not just static rules.
Okay, that's amplifying. What about creating new revenue streams? That sounds exciting.
It is. This is where it gets really innovative. For industrial companies, imagine agents embedded directly into connected products or equipment, perhaps a complex manufacturing machine, a jet engine, or a piece of heavy machinery on a construction site. These agents could continuously monitor usage patterns, component wear, detect performance thresholds, and autonomously unlock premium features or trigger predictive maintenance actions before a breakdown occurs.
So moving from selling a machine to selling uptime or performance.
Exactly. This enables entirely new pay-per-use models, performance-based contracts, or tiered subscription services based on usage levels or features unlocked by the agent. It transforms a one-time product sale into an ongoing service relationship, generating recurring revenue.
That's a big shift. Any other examples?
Yeah, similarly, service organizations think consulting firms, law firms, research outfits could encapsulate their internal expertise. Imagine deep legal reasoning for contract review, complex engineering best practices for design simulation, or procurement expertise for supplier negotiation, encapsulating that knowledge into specialized AI agents. These agents could then be offered as software as a service or SaaS, tools or APIs to clients, partners, or even smaller businesses that lack that in-house specialized expertise.
So productizing expertise itself.
Precisely. So agentic AI doesn't just automate. It fundamentally redefines how organizations operate, adapt, and create value. It's a complete shift in business model thinking, opening doors to previously unimaginable services and ways to monetize knowledge and capabilities.
This leads us to a fundamental question. Is this just theoretical pie-in-the-sky stuff?
Not at all. And the report provides real-world case studies from Quantum Black, McKinsey's AI arm, which demonstrate outcomes far beyond just efficiency gains. Take case study 1, a bank's legacy application modernization using hybrid digital factories, as referenced in Exhibit 3.
Okay, what was the problem there?
The problem for this large bank was massive. They faced a daunting $600 million undertaking to modernize its legacy core system, which was comprised of 400 interconnected software pieces. Huge complexity. This involved large teams of human coders performing manual, repetitive, and often siloed tasks, relying on slow, error-prone documentation and coding practices. You know the drill.
Sounds like a nightmare project.
It often is. And while first-generation Gen AI tools helped with individual tasks, like generating code snippets for specific functions, overall progress on such a massive undertaking was painfully slow and prone to delays and budget overruns.
So how did the agentic approach change things?
It transformed it fundamentally. The bank shifted to a model where human workers were elevated from individual coders doing the grunt work to supervisory roles, overseeing squads of AI agents.
Squads of agents, like a team.
Exactly. Think of it. Each agent squad contributed to a shared objective in a defined sequence. For example, one agent squad might be retroactively documenting the old legacy applications based on the code itself. Another squad writing new code based on specifications. A third reviewing other agents' code for quality, security flaws, and compliance. And yet another integrating that code for automated testing by other agents before final delivery to the human supervisor for approval.
So the humans become conductors, not just players in the orchestra.
Beautifully put. This freed human supervisors from those manual, repetitive, and often tedious tasks, allowing them to focus on guiding the overall process, ensuring quality, making high-level architectural decisions, and ultimately reducing the number of sprints needed for new features. The impact: a staggering over 50% reduction in time and effort in the early adopter teams.
Over 50%. That's not just an improvement. It's a dramatic acceleration of a critical, costly business function.
It really is. Another fascinating example is Case Study 2, a market research and intelligence firm that boosted data quality for deeper market insights. Their problem was significant. They dedicated substantial human resources, over 500 people,
500 people.
to manually gather, structure, codify data, and generate client insights from vast amounts of market information. This manual process was highly prone to error. A staggering 80% of mistakes were identified by the clients themselves.
Ouch. That's bad for business.
Terribly. It leads to dissatisfaction, rework, loss of credibility. This highlights the immense cost and frustration of human error in data-intensive work.
So what was the agentic approach here?
It was truly ingenious. A multi-agent solution was developed to autonomously identify data anomalies and explain the likely reasons for shifts in sales or market share. Imagine agents analyzing both internal signals like subtle changes in product taxonomy within the company's databases and external events identified via sophisticated web searches like competitor product recalls, major marketing campaigns, or sudden severe weather patterns impacting logistics in a key region.
So connecting internal data with external context automatically.
Yes. The most influential drivers for, say, a dip in market share were then synthesized, ranked by importance, and prepared in a concise, actionable format for decision makers. With advanced search capabilities and contextual reasoning, these agents surface insights that would often be incredibly difficult, if not impossible, for human analysts to uncover manually within reasonable timeframes, buried in terabytes of data.
What was the impact?
While this system isn't yet in full production as of the report, it's fully functional in testing and has demonstrated a strong potential for over 60% productivity gain and expected savings of more than $3 million annually. It's a potential game changer for how market intelligence is gathered, validated, and utilized.
Incredible. Okay, one more case study.
Finally, Case Study 3, highlighted in Exhibit 4, showcases a bank that reimagined its credit risk memo creation process. The problem for relationship managers, or RMs, at a retail bank was that they spent weeks writing and iterating complex credit risk memos.
That sounds painful.
Extremely time-consuming. These memos were crucial for making informed credit decisions and ensuring regulatory compliance. The process required manual review and extraction of information from at least 10 different disparate data sources: CRM, core banking, financial statements, external credit reports, and then complex, nuanced reasoning across interdependent sections. For example, how a proposed loan's terms, a company's revenue projections, and its cash flow evolution might interlink and impact risk. It was a massive time sink, highly variable in quality depending on the RM's experience, and a significant bottleneck in the lending process.
So how did agents help here?
The agentic approach fundamentally transformed this workflow. In close collaboration with the bank's own credit risk experts and RMs, which is key, co-creation, a proof of concept, used AI agents to assist RMs throughout the entire process. Agents were designed to automatically extract and synthesize relevant data from all those multiple sources, draft initial memo sections based on templates and risk parameters, generate confidence scores for different parts of the memo to help prioritize the human's review time.
Focusing the human effort where it's most needed.
Exactly. And even suggest relevant follow-up questions for the RM to ask the client based on potential inconsistencies or missing information identified by the agent. The analyst's role shifts dramatically from manual drafting and data hunting to strategic oversight, validating agent outputs, applying judgment on complex exceptions or qualitative factors, and focusing more on the client relationship aspect.
What kind of improvement did they see?
The impact was impressive. A potential 20 to 60% increase in RM productivity, including a remarkable 30% improvement in overall credit turnaround time, getting decisions to clients faster. These examples truly drive home that agents aren't just about incremental efficiency, they're about transforming core, high-value business processes in ways that were previously unimaginable.
It really highlights the difference between just using AI and truly integrating it.
Precisely. Which leads us to a fundamental question. Why isn't simply inserting agents into existing workflows enough to achieve these transformative impacts? This takes us to the crucial shift the report emphasizes: process reinvention, not just optimization.
Okay, explain that distinction.
When you simply insert agents into existing workflows without redesigning the underlying process, they typically just serve as faster assistants generating content more quickly, retrieving data faster, executing predefined steps without manual effort. But the underlying process itself, the sequence of steps, the handoffs, the decision points, remains sequential, rule-bound, and constrained by the old human limitations. The gains you see are modest, largely limited to speeding up individual tasks without changing the overall flow or structure of work. You're paving the cow path, essentially.
Right. You're making the old way faster, not creating a new, better way.
Exactly. Reinventing the process means something far more profound than just layering automation on top. It involves re-architecting the entire task flow from the ground up.
Starting with a blank sheet almost.
Often, yes, or at least fundamentally questioning every step. This includes reordering steps, strategically reallocating responsibilities between humans and agents based on who's best suited for what, and designing the process from scratch to fully exploit the unique strengths of agentic AI.
And those strengths are?
Things like parallel execution, which collapses cycle time by allowing multiple steps to happen simultaneously instead of sequentially. Real-time adaptability, meaning workflows can react dynamically to changing conditions instead of following a rigid script. Deep personalization at scale, tailoring every interaction. And elastic capacity, meaning the process can flex instantly with demand fluctuations without breaking. It's about designing for agentic capabilities, not just with them.
The report gives a clear illustration using a hypothetical call center laid out in Exhibit 5, which really highlights this distinction. Walk us through that.
Okay, so in a baseline, Gen AI-enabled human-assisted scenario, human support staff manage every step of a customer interaction. They are assisted by Gen AI tools that might retrieve knowledge-based articles faster, summarize long ticket histories, or help draft responses based on prompts. This leads to a modest 5–10% average reduction in resolution time. It's an improvement, sure, but still largely manual and reactive, with humans orchestrating everything.
Okay, that's level 1. What's next?
Then, in an agent-enabled optimized scenario, AI agents automate discrete tasks within the existing workflow. For instance, an agent might classify incoming tickets automatically based on keywords, suggest likely root causes based on symptom analysis from the customer's description, or even fully resolve frequent low-complexity issues like password resets or address changes without human intervention.
So taking over some simple tasks entirely.
Right. Here, the estimated impact rises significantly, maybe a 20–40% average reduction in resolution time and a 30–50% reduction in the backlog of open tickets. This is an increased impact, certainly, but coordination friction between human and agent can still exist, and limited adaptability prevents true breakthrough gains because the overall process structure hasn't fundamentally changed. It's faster, more efficient, but not reinvented.
Got it. Now for the reinvention level.
This is the truly transformative level. The agent-enabled reinvented scenario. This is where the process is completely redesigned around agent autonomy and proactive action. AI agents proactively detect common customer issues, perhaps noticing a pattern of delayed shipments to a certain region, multiple reports of failed payments from a specific bank, or service outages impacting a group of users by continuously monitoring patterns across all customer channels, emails, chats, social media mentions, even internal system logs.
So they're identifying problems before the customer even calls.
Often, yes, they anticipate needs, initiate resolution steps automatically, like proactively issuing refunds for the delayed shipment, automatically reordering a product that failed to arrive, updating account details after a failed payment, or notifying affected users about an outage with an estimated resolution time, and communicate directly with customers via chat or email with personalized updates.
What happens to the human agents then?
Human agents are repositioned as high-value escalation managers and service quality overseers. They're brought in only when agents detect a truly complex, novel problem, an ambiguous situation requiring empathy or nuanced judgment, or an exception that falls outside predefined parameters. The estimated impact here is massive. Potentially up to 80% of common incidents resolved autonomously, with a 60–90% reduction in time to resolution for those issues. This is a complete reimagining of the customer service function, shifting humans to the most valuable, least routine, most complex work.
That's a huge difference. So if you're a leader listening, how do you know when to simply optimize versus when to go for full reinvention? It sounds like reinvention is harder.
It is, and it's not always necessary. Not every business process requires full reinvention. Simple task automation suffices for highly standard, repetitive workflows with limited variability. Think basic payroll processing, standard travel expense approvals, or those simple password resets we mentioned. In these cases, gains primarily come from reducing manual effort, and a simple agent assist or optimization might be perfectly adequate.
Okay, so when is reinvention warranted?
It's typically warranted for processes that are complex, maybe cross-functional, involving multiple teams, prone to frequent exceptions or variations, or tightly linked to core business performance and competitive advantage. Key indicators that suggest reinvention might be the right path include high coordination overhead between teams or systems, rigid sequential processes that inherently delay responsiveness in a fast-moving market, frequent human intervention required for decisions that could actually be data-driven if the data was accessible and synthesized, and clear opportunities for dynamic adaptation or deep personalization that are currently unmet due to process limitations.
So where the potential upside is really significant.
Exactly. In these scenarios, designing the process around the agent's unique ability to orchestrate complexity, adapt in real time, learn, and personalize delivers far greater strategic value than just speeding up what you already do. It's about unlocking fundamentally new levels of performance and capability.
Okay, that makes sense. But achieving this level of transformation sounds like it needs more than just clever process design. What about the underlying technology architecture?
You're absolutely right. This comprehensive transformation necessitates a new architectural paradigm, what the report calls the Agentic AI Mesh. To scale agents effectively across an enterprise, companies must overcome a threefold challenge. First, managing a new wave of systemic risks. Agents introduce controlled autonomy, which is powerful, but it also brings risks like uncontrolled actions, fragmented system access leading to security holes, a lack of observability and traceability for their decisions, an expanding attack surface for cyber threats, and the very real risk of agent sprawl and duplication if not managed properly. Without proper foundational controls, intelligent automation can quickly devolve into operational chaos.
Yeah, you don't want thousands of unmanaged agents running wild.
Definitely not. Second, there's the challenge of blending custom and off-the-shelf agents. While off-the-shelf agents embedded in software suites like a Copilot in your CRM or ERP can streamline routines and offer quick wins, they rarely unlock true strategic advantage because they're generic, available to all your competitors. Realizing the full potential requires custom-built agents specifically designed for your high-impact, differentiating processes, maybe your unique end-to-end customer resolution workflow or your proprietary adaptive supply chain orchestration logic. These must be deeply aligned with your company's specific business logic, proprietary data flows, and unique value creation levers, making them difficult for competitors to replicate.
So you need both, but the custom ones drive differentiation.
Correct. And third, organizations need to stay agile amid fast-evolving tech. Agentic AI is moving incredibly quickly. New models, tools, frameworks, and capabilities are emerging constantly. So agents and the platform they run on must support workflows across multiple disparate systems without being hardwired to a specific platform or vendor. An evolutive and vendor-agnostic architecture is essential to avoid being locked into technologies that might become obsolete, too costly, or simply not the best fit down the road.
Avoiding vendor lock-in is always a good goal. So how does this mesh address these challenges?
What's fascinating here is that these challenges cannot be addressed by simply bolting new components onto existing Gen AI stacks, which were often built just for chatbots or simple copilots. What's truly needed is a fundamental architectural shift, from static LLM-centric infrastructure to a dynamic, modular, and governed environment built specifically for agent-based intelligence, the Agentic AI Mesh. Think of it as an intelligent nervous system or a sophisticated switchboard for your enterprise's AI capabilities.
An AI nervous system, I like that.
This mesh is designed to be composable, meaning you can easily plug in different agents, tools, or even LLMs like Lego bricks. It's distributed, allowing complex tasks to be broken down and solved by networks of cooperating agents, each potentially specializing in a part of the problem. And it's vendor agnostic, giving you flexibility. It enables multiple agents custom off the shelf from different teams to reason, collaborate, and act autonomously across a wide array of systems, tools, and language models. And crucially, it does this securely, at scale, and is built to evolve seamlessly as the underlying technology advances.
Okay, what are the core principles behind this mesh architecture?
At the heart of this paradigm are 5 mutually reinforcing design principles. First, composability. As I said, any agent, tool, or LLM can be plugged into the mesh without requiring a complete system rework. This allows for agility and rapid iteration. Second, distributed intelligence. Complex tasks can be decomposed and resolved not by a single monolithic God AI, but by networks of cooperating agents, perhaps orchestrated for a specific goal.
Like a team of specialists.
Exactly. Third, layered decoupling. The core functions, the agent's logic, its memory, the orchestration of tasks, and the interfaces to systems and humans are separated and distinct. This maximizes modularity, making the system more resilient, easier to update, and less prone to cascading failures. Fourth, vendor neutrality. All components can ideally be independently updated or replaced as technology advances, critically avoiding vendor lock-in. The report specifically mentions the importance of open standards like the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, which helps ensure different AI models understand the context of the data being exchanged, and agent-to-agent, or A2A protocols, which allow agents from different vendors or departments to seamlessly talk and collaborate. These are preferred over proprietary protocols, promoting an open and competitive ecosystem.
And the fifth principle.
Governed autonomy. This is absolutely critical. Agent behavior is proactively controlled via embedded policies, fine-grained permissions managed through identity and access control systems, and predefined escalation mechanisms to ensure safe, transparent, and compliant operation. This isn't about stifling agents, it's about building trust by design, ensuring they operate within acceptable boundaries.
So the mesh is like the foundational plumbing and wiring for a truly agent-driven enterprise.
That's a great way to put it. It acts as the central connective tissue and orchestration layer, enabling safe, efficient, and continuously evolving large-scale agent ecosystems. It coordinates both your custom-built agents and off-the-shelf solutions, supports complex multi-agent collaboration, and mitigates significant risks like agent sprawl and autonomy drift, where agents' behavior changes unexpectedly over time.
Does the report go into more detail on the mesh's capabilities?
It does, in a sidebar. It details 7 interconnected capabilities that make it robust. These include things like agent and workflow discovery, essentially a dynamic catalog so you know what agents exist and what they can do, an AI asset registry for centralized governance, and version control of prompts, instructions, LLM configurations, agent skills, robust observability for end-to-end tracing, performance monitoring, and audit logs so you can understand exactly how agents are performing and what decisions they're making.
Crucial for debugging and compliance.
Absolutely. Also, authentication and authorization for fine-grained access control, ensuring agents only access the data and systems they're explicitly permitted to. Comprehensive evaluations for continuous testing of agent pipelines and outputs against predefined benchmarks. Feedback management with automated feedback loops for continuous improvement and learning, allowing agents to get better over time. And finally, robust compliance and risk management with embedded policy controls and ethical guardrails to ensure responsible AI deployment from the start. It's a truly holistic system designed for managing intelligence at scale.
And as agents become the foundation of operations, the foundational models, the LLMs themselves, they need to evolve too, right? They can't just be the same models used for simple chatbots.
Exactly. The demands are different. The report highlights 5 new LLM requirements specifically for the agentic era. First, low latency inference for real-time responsiveness. Agents embedded in complex real-time workflows, think fraud detection during a transaction or controlling a robot demand sub-second response times, often under significant compute constraints. This is where smaller, highly optimized models, maybe like Mistral Small, Llama 3.8b, Gemini Nano, or Claude Haiku come into play. They're built for speed and efficiency.
Makes sense. What's second?
Second, fine-tuning and controllability for domain-specific agents. For regulated or highly knowledge-intensive domains like finance, legal, or healthcare, generic LLMs often aren't good enough. They need to be fine-tuned on proprietary company data, grounded in enterprise knowledge bases using techniques like RAG, retrieval-augmented generation, and potentially instrumented with external tools and APIs to ensure factual accuracy, adherence to regulations, and domain relevance. Models often cited here might include fine-tuned versions of Mistral Small 8x7b or Llama 3 8b70b.
Okay.
Third, we need lightweight deployment for embedded and edge agents. For scenarios like smart devices, IoT, field equipment used by technicians, or privacy-sensitive environments where data cannot leave the device or premises, agents must be embedded directly into the software or hardware. This requires models with a minimal compute and memory footprint. Think models like Mistral Small, Gemini Nano, or Microsoft's V-series here.
Right. Agents running locally. Fourth.
Fourth, scalable multi-agent orchestration across the enterprise. Deploying and managing hundreds or potentially thousands of cooperating agents requires LLMs and architectures that can scale efficiently and cost-effectively. This might involve using sparse architectures or mixture of experts, MoE models like Mixtral or Grok 1, or highly optimized standard models like GPT 3.5 Turbo or Cohere's Command R+, designed to handle many concurrent requests without breaking the bank.
And the fifth requirement, this sounds important.
It is, especially for certain sectors and governments. Sovereignty, auditability, and geopolitical resilience for autonomous agents. Agents operating in core operations, especially in the public sector, financial services, or critical infrastructure, must ensure compliance with local regulations like GDPR or specific data localization laws. They need full traceability for audits and increasingly geopolitical autonomy.
Meaning not relying on models hosted elsewhere.
Exactly. This means avoiding over-reliance on foreign-hosted APIs, ensuring sensitive data stays within national borders, data residency, and resisting potential extraterritorial legal exposure from other jurisdictions. This is a major driver behind the interest in models developed by companies like Mistral in Europe, or large open models like Falcon or Bloom's Bloom, which can be hosted and controlled locally. It's about control, trust, and resilience at a national or organizational level.
This really paints a picture of a future where enterprise systems themselves need to change fundamentally.
Absolutely. This leads us to the evolution of enterprise systems. While APIs will remain the short-term interface for agents to connect with existing applications, the glue in the long term, organizations must begin reimagining their entire IT architectures around an agent-first model.
What does agent first mean in practice?
It means user interfaces, underlying business logic, and data access layers will be natively designed for machine interaction, perhaps even primarily, not just human navigation through screens and menus. Systems will be organized around machine-readable interfaces like sophisticated APIs or event streams, autonomous workflows triggered and managed by agents, and agent-led decision flows where agents handle many operational decisions within their governed boundaries.
So the software itself expects to talk to other software or agents more than humans.
That's the long-term direction. This shift is already underway. You can see the signs. Major players like Microsoft are embedding agents directly into Dynamics 365 and M365 via tools like Copilot Studio, allowing businesses to build custom agents that interact with their core systems. Salesforce is expanding its Agent Force capabilities within Einstein. And SAP is re-architecting its Business Technology Platform, or BTP, to natively support agent integration via its Joule AI assistant across its suite. The future of enterprise software is not just AI augmented. It's rapidly becoming agent native, with machines coordinating with machines as a primary mode of operation.
So we've talked about the incredible technology, the complex architecture, the reinvented processes. It sounds almost inevitable, but the report makes it crystal clear. The main challenge won't be technical. It will be human and organizational.
That's often the case with major shifts, isn't it? As agents evolve from passive co-pilots just helping you out to proactive actors taking initiative and scaling across the enterprise, the complexity introduced is primarily about coordination, judgment, and crucially, trust among people. This plays out across three critical dimensions that leaders must prepare for.
Okay, what's the first dimension?
First, human-agent cohabitation. Agents won't just replace tasks. They'll act alongside humans, often autonomously within a shared workflow. This raises incredibly nuanced questions. When should an agent take the initiative? When should it defer to a human colleague? How do we maintain human agency, oversight, and a sense of purpose and control without constantly interrupting and slowing down the very benefit speed, autonomy that agents are designed to bring?
Finding that right balance sounds tricky.
It is. Building clarity around these evolving roles and responsibilities will require time, deliberate experimentation, clear communication, and significant cultural adjustment within teams and the organization. Trust won't hinge just on the agent's technical performance, how accurate it is, but also on transparent communication from the agent about what it's doing and why, predictable behavior within its defined role, and intuitive integration into daily human workflows so it feels like a teammate, not an alien invader. It's about fostering a new form of team dynamics.
Okay, cohabitation. What's the second human challenge?
Secondly, there's autonomy control. What makes agents so powerful, their ability to act independently and proactively, also introduces inherent ambiguity and a critical need for careful governance. Unlike traditional software tools that simply follow pre-programmed instructions, agents are designed to respond to dynamic conditions, adapt their plans based on new data, and sometimes, well, they might surprise you. Maybe with an unexpected but effective solution, or perhaps occasionally with an undesirable or even harmful one if not properly constrained.
The rogue AI fear, even on a smaller scale.
Well, maybe not rogue in the sci-fi sense, but certainly acting outside intended parameters or making poor judgments. Navigating this means confronting complex edge cases. What if an agent executes a task too aggressively, perhaps making a financial commitment or sending a communication with unintended negative consequences? Or what if it fails to escalate a subtle but critical issue to a human because it didn't recognize the nuance or the potential severity?
So how do you manage that?
The challenge isn't to eliminate autonomy entirely, because that's the agent's core value proposition. It's to make that autonomy intelligible, observable, and reliably aligned with organizational expectations, risk appetite, and ethical values. And this alignment won't be a one-time setup. It will be an evolving process as agents learn from feedback and as human trust deepens through positive experience. And of course, control mechanisms, governance, monitoring, testing must also robustly address the persistent risk of hallucinations, those plausible but inaccurate outputs agents may produce, especially when operating autonomously in critical domains. You need guardrails.
Makes sense. Guardrails are key. What's the third dimension?
And finally, a very real and potentially messy operational challenge: sprawl containment. Remember the early days of robotic process automation, or RPA?
Oh yeah, bots popping up everywhere, often unmanaged.
Exactly. There's a significant risk of a similar agent sprawl: the uncontrolled proliferation of redundant, fragmented, and ungoverned agents across different teams and functions. As low-code and no-code platforms make agent creation increasingly accessible to almost anyone in the organization, not just specialist developers.
Citizen developers building agents.
Right. Companies risk a new kind of shadow IT, but potentially more powerful and harder to track. You could have agents multiplying rapidly, duplicating efforts because different teams built similar agents unaware of each other, or operating without proper oversight, security protocols, data governance, or clear business objectives tied back to strategy. How do we avoid this fragmentation and chaos? Who decides what gets built versus bought? What's standardized across the enterprise? And, crucially, what gets retired when it's obsolete or redundant? Without structured governance, clear design standards, robust lifecycle management for agents, from creation to retirement, these powerful ecosystems can quickly become fragile, redundant, inefficient, and ultimately unscalable. It's fundamentally a human problem of coordination, standards, and management discipline, not just a technical one.
So as we transition to Chapter 3, it becomes abundantly clear that AI transformation is at a real tipping point. It's moving beyond experimentation into something much more fundamental, and the report argues this calls for nothing less than a clear CEO mandate in this emerging agentic era.
Absolutely. Scaling the kind of impact we've been discussing now requires a fundamental reset of the entire AI transformation approach. Unlike those first-generation Gen AI tools that could often be easily plugged into existing workflows for individual productivity gains, like adding a chatbot to a website.
The bolted-on approach.
Precisely. AI agents demand a much more foundational shift, one that requires rethinking entire business processes, often from the ground up, redesigning roles, and enabling deep native integration with core enterprise systems and data flows. To truly capitalize on this, organizations must fundamentally reshape their AI transformation approach across 4 key dimensions, really building on the hard-won lessons learned from successful large-scale digital transformations over the past decade or two.
Okay, what's the first dimension they need to reset?
The first dimension is strategy, moving from scattered tactical initiatives to truly strategic programs. With agentic AI poised to fundamentally reshape the very foundations of competition and value creation in many industries, organizations must move beyond the ad hoc, bottom-up use case identification that often characterized the first wave: let's find somewhere to use Gen AI.
Right, moving beyond random acts of AI.
Exactly. Instead, they need to align AI initiatives directly and explicitly with their most critical strategic priorities. This means not only translating existing strategic goals like radically improving operational efficiency, achieving deeper customer intimacy, or ensuring robust compliance in complex areas into specific AI-addressable transformation domains, but also, and this is key, adopting a truly forward-looking lens. Executives must challenge their organizations to look beyond optimizing today's operating model and explore how agentic AI can enable them to reimagine entire business segments, create entirely new data-driven revenue streams, and build sustainable competitive moats that will define market leadership for the next decade. It's about using AI to shape the future business, not just optimize the present one.
That requires real vision from the top. What's the second shift?
This leads us to a crucial point regarding the fundamental unit of transformation: It shifts dramatically from focusing on individual use cases or tasks to transforming entire business processes. In the early wave of Gen AI adoption, most vertical initiatives, even the successful pilots, often focused on plugging a solution into a specific isolated step of an existing process, like automating report generation within a larger analysis workflow.
Fixing one small part.
Right. And while this might deliver narrow, localized gains, it rarely changes the overall structure of how work is done or moves the needle significantly on the company's overall P&L. With AI agents, the paradigm shifts entirely. The opportunity now lies not in optimizing isolated tasks, but in transforming entire end-to-end business processes by embedding agentic capabilities throughout the value chain from customer interaction all the way through fulfillment and support.
So thinking much bigger.
Much bigger. AI initiatives should no longer be scoped around a single use case, but instead around the complete reinvention of a full business process, or even a specific persona's entire journey, like the end-to-end journey of a relationship manager or a supply chain planner. This means moving from the question, where can I use AI in this specific function, to the much more ambitious and ultimately impactful question, what would this entire function or this entire value stream look like if agents handled 60% of the activities? It involves fundamentally rethinking workflows, decision logic, human-system interactions, data flows, and performance metrics across the board, not just tweaking one component.
That's a major change in scope. The third dimension.
The third dimension is the delivery model, moving from siloed AI teams to robust, cross-functional transformation squads. While those dedicated AI centers of excellence, or COEs, played a crucial role in accelerating AI awareness, building initial skills, and fostering early experimentation.
They got the ball rolling.
They did. But that centralized, often isolated model reaches its inherent limits in the agentic era. Why? Because agents are designed to be deeply embedded into core enterprise systems. They need to operate seamlessly across complex business processes that span multiple departments, sales, marketing, operations, finance. And they rely absolutely on high-quality integrated data from across the organization as their primary fuel. In this context, transformative AI initiatives can no longer be delivered effectively by isolated, specialized AI teams working in a vacuum, throwing solutions over the wall to the business.
It needs to be a team sport.
Absolutely. To succeed at scale, organizations must shift to a truly cross-functional delivery model anchored in durable transformation squads. These squads need to be composed of a diverse array of experts working together day in, day out, business domain experts who intimately understand the nuances of the process being transformed, process designers who can skillfully re-architect workflows for human-agent collaboration, experienced AI and MLOps engineers who can build, deploy, and maintain robust models and agents, IT architects to ensure seamless integration with the legacy and future tech stack, software engineers for any necessary system modifications, and critically, data engineers to ensure the required data is high quality, accessible, and governed. It's a true collaborative effort requiring deep integration across functions from the start.
Breaking down those silos is key.
Yeah.
And the final dimension for the reset.
And finally, the implementation process. Shifting from pure experimentation and proof of concepts to industrialized, scalable delivery. While the previous phase of Gen AI rightly focused on exploring its potential and rapid prototyping to learn quickly, organizations must now transition to an industrialized delivery model. This means solutions are designed from the outset with scalability, both technical and financial, firmly in mind.
Thinking about day two, not just day one.
Exactly. This requires organizations to anticipate and plan for the full set of technical prerequisites for enterprise deployment, things like robust system integration with existing IT infrastructure, continuous day-to-day monitoring of agent performance and behavior, mature release management processes for updating agents safely, security baked in, etc. But crucially, it also means rigorously estimating future running costs and designing solutions to minimize them. This is a big one.
Why is cost such a big factor here?
Because unlike traditional IT systems, where annual run costs are typically maybe 10–20% of the initial build costs, Gen AI solutions, especially agentic systems making lots of inferences at scale, can incur recurring costs for compute, API calls, monitoring, maintenance that can actually exceed the initial build investment over time.
Wow, the running costs can be higher than the build cost.
They absolutely can be, especially for high-volume, constantly active agents. So designing for scalability must include not just technical robustness and operational excellence, but also conscious economic sustainability from day one. You need to think about the token usage, the model efficiency, the infrastructure choices to ensure the solution remains viable long-term, particularly for mission-critical applications running 24/7.
That's a critical planning factor often overlooked in the hype. Okay, so redesigning the approach is crucial. But the report also mentions critical enablers needed to actually operate in this new era.
Yes, redesigning the approach is crucial, but it's not enough on its own. To unlock the full potential, organizations must simultaneously activate a robust set of enablers that support the structural, cultural, and technical shifts required to integrate agents effectively into day-to-day operations. These enablers span 4 dimensions.
What's the first enabler?
First, people. Organizations must equip their workforce for new ways of working and proactively introduce new roles. This goes beyond just basic training. It involves fostering a deep-seated human plus agent mindset throughout the organization through comprehensive cultural change initiatives, targeted training programs that focus on collaboration, oversight, and exception handling skills, not just prompting, and actively supporting early adopters as internal champions who can share successes and spread best practices organically.
And what about new roles?
Yes, new roles must also emerge and be formally defined to manage this new paradigm. Roles like prompt engineers who design effective interactions and perhaps even agent personas for consistency. Agent orchestrators who design, monitor, and manage complex multi-agent workflows. And human-in-the-loop designers who meticulously map out the points where human intervention is needed, handle exceptions gracefully, and continuously work to build user trust in these increasingly autonomous systems. It's about deliberately reshaping the very nature of work and the skills required.
Okay, people first. What's the second enabler?
Secondly, governance. Ensuring autonomy control and preventing that agent sprawl we talked about. With the rise of autonomous agents comes the critical, non-negotiable need for strong, clear governance frameworks to avoid unacceptable risks and uncontrolled proliferation. Enterprises should define clear governance frameworks that establish precise agent autonomy levels, determining how much independent action an agent can take in different contexts. Define clear decision boundaries, mandate continuous behavior monitoring and logging, and implement robust audit mechanisms to track every significant agent action for accountability and compliance.
Formal rules of the road for agents.
Exactly. Policies for development standards, rigorous testing, secure deployment, and acceptable usage must be formalized and enforced. It might also involve creating classification systems that group agents by function or risk level. Perhaps simple task automators versus complex domain orchestrators versus collaborative virtual teammates, each with an appropriate oversight model, risk assessment, and level of human supervision required. It's about building trust through intelligent control, clear boundaries, and radical transparency.
Got it. Third enabler.
Third, technology architecture. Building that robust foundation for interoperability and scale. Agents, whether custom-built for specific needs or off-the-shelf components integrated into larger systems, must operate seamlessly across a potentially fragmented ecosystem of existing enterprise systems, diverse internal and external data sources, and complex, evolving workflows. In the short term, as we discussed, organizations must evolve their AI architecture from those often simple, reactive, LLM-centric setups to the proactive, dynamic Agentic AI Mesh.
Laying the foundation.
Yes. And beyond this crucial first step, companies should start strategically preparing for their next-generation enterprise architecture, where all enterprise systems might be fundamentally reshuffled around agents in terms of their primary user interface, increasingly conversational or API-driven, their core business logic, embedding agentic decision-making, and their day-to-day operational flows. This is the path towards that truly agent-native future where human interaction is intelligently supported by, but not solely reliant on, traditional graphical user interfaces.
And the fourth and final enabler. Back to data.
You guessed it. Finally, data. Accelerating data productization and addressing those persistent quality gaps, especially in unstructured data. Agents fundamentally depend on the quality, accessibility, timeliness, and discoverability of enterprise data to make informed decisions and take effective actions. Garbage in, garbage out still applies, maybe even more so with autonomous systems. Organizations must transition from building fragmented, use case-specific data pipelines where data is painstakingly collected and cleaned for one particular AI model or project to creating reusable, well-documented, governed data products that are consistently managed and can be easily discovered and consumed by multiple agents and analytical systems across the enterprise.
Treating data like a product, not a byproduct.
Exactly. And critically, they need to extend their data governance frameworks and quality improvement efforts to actively include unstructured data, all those emails, documents, presentations, images, voice recordings, chat logs, which still remains largely ungoverned and untapped in most organizations, despite being an incredibly rich source of contextual information for agents. Without high quality, easily accessible, governed data, both structured and unstructured agents simply cannot perform effectively or reliably at scale. It's the fuel for the engine.
So what does this all mean for you, the leader, the decision maker listening to this? The report concludes with a powerful message. This is the CEO mandate. The rise of AI agents is far more than just another technological shift. It represents a strategic inflection point that will profoundly redefine how companies operate, compete, and create value in the years ahead.
Absolutely. To navigate this transition successfully, organizations must move decisively beyond the often scattered experimentation and pilot programs that defined the first wave of Gen AI. They need to enter a new phase of scaled, strategically aligned, enterprise-wide transformation driven by agentic capabilities.
And the report is clear. This pivot cannot be delegated down the chain.
No, it absolutely must be initiated, visibly sponsored, and actively led from the very top by the CEO and the executive leadership team working in concert. It relies on three key, decisive actions they need to take now. Action 1. Conclude the experimentation phase and formally realign AI priorities.
So drawing a line under the let's try stuff phase.
Pretty much. This means conducting a structured, honest review across the entire organization to capture the real lessons learned from all those pilots and experiments, what worked, what didn't, and why. Rigorously retiring unscalable or low-impact initiatives, even if they were someone's pet project, and formally communicating that the exploratory phase is closing. The focus must then decisively shift to a smaller number of truly strategic AI programs that target high-impact domains and core business processes, the ones that align directly with the company's sources of competitive advantage and strategic goals. Less dabbling, a more focused execution.
Okay, action 1. Focus. What's action 2?
Action 2. Redesign the AI governance and operating model for this new era. This involves setting up a strategic AI council or steering committee. And critically, this council must include key leaders from across the enterprise, not just IT or a central AI team. This means core business unit leaders, the chief human resources officer, because of the workforce implications, the chief data officer, the chief risk officer, and the chief information officer must all be at the table shaping the strategy together.
A truly cross-functional steering group.
Yes. This council should oversee the overall AI direction setting, ensure tight coordination between AI investments, core IT modernization, and data strategy initiatives across departments to eliminate fragmentation and duplication, and implement rigorous value tracking mechanisms based on clear KPIs directly tied to measurable business outcomes, revenue growth, cost reduction, customer satisfaction, speed to market, and holding teams accountable for delivering that tangible value. It's about embedding accountability and strategic alignment at the very top.
Accountability is key. And the third action.
And action 3. Launch a first lighthouse transformation project and simultaneously initialize the Agentic AI Tech Foundation. This means selecting a small number, maybe just one or two initially, of high-impact agentic AI-driven workflow transformations in core business areas. These should be processes that are genuinely ripe for fundamental reinvention, not just incremental optimization, and dedicating significant resources and top talent to them as flagship lighthouse projects. These are your visible exemplars that will demonstrate the power and potential of agents to the rest of the organization and build momentum.
Proving it can be done.
Exactly. But crucially, in parallel with launching these lighthouses, organizations must start laying the foundational groundwork for that robust agentic AI technology stack. This means making strategic investments in those key enablers we discussed. The necessary technology infrastructure, like the Agentic AI Mesh components, significantly improve data quality and governance, especially for unstructured data needed by the agents, comprehensive governance frameworks, and tooling for managing agent autonomy and risk, and critically, preparing the workforce for this new era of human-agent collaboration through targeted training, communication, and cultural change initiatives. It's about building the future capability while simultaneously proving its value today on a critical problem. You need both tracks running together. Hashtag, tag, tag, outro.
Wow. Okay, let's try and synthesize this. We started today by exploring the Gen AI paradox, how widespread adoption hasn't translated into widespread measurable impact on the bottom line for most companies, despite all the hype and investment.
You're right, the disconnect between activity and result.
We then uncovered the truly transformative power of agentic AI, moving beyond reactive tools like simple chatbots to autonomous, goal-driven collaborators. Agents that can actually reinvent entire business processes, potentially create entirely new revenue streams, and dramatically improve core operations in ways Gen AI alone couldn't.
Moving from assisting tasks to automating and orchestrating outcomes.
Exactly. And we learned that this isn't just about plugging in new tech. It's about a fundamental shift in architecture, the Agentic AI Mesh. It's about new operating models with cross-functional teams. And perhaps most importantly, it's about navigating the human elements of collaboration, governance, and building trust between people and these increasingly capable autonomous systems.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's clear we're at a moment of potential strategic divergence. As the McKinsey report suggests, done right, agentic AI offers laggards a genuine leapfrog opportunity, a chance to rewire their competitiveness, automate inefficient processes, maybe even catch up to or surpass established leaders by building a fundamentally more agile and intelligent operating model.
But there's a flip side, right?
There is. Done wrong, perhaps by sticking to fragmented pilots, ignoring the need for process reinvention, or failing to build the right governance and architecture, or worse, not embracing it strategically at all, it risks accelerating the decline of today's market leaders. They could be left behind as more nimble competitors embrace this new operating model built on agentic automation. This is not just an incremental step for your business. The report argues it's the very foundation of the next generation operating model, fundamentally reshaping how value is created and captured.
So what does this all mean for you listening and for your organization? Consider an interesting signal. Moderna, the biotech company, made a significant strategic move recently by merging its HR and IT leadership under a single chief digital and operational excellence officer.
That's telling. Bringing people and tech strategy together at the top.
Exactly. It signals a profound understanding that AI, especially agentic AI, is not just a technical tool deployed by IT. It's a fundamental workforce-shaping force. It's a structural move toward a new kind of enterprise entirely, one where technology strategy and people strategy are deeply, inextricably intertwined from the C-suite down. How will your organization rethink how decisions are made, how work actually gets done day to day, and how humans engage with technology when software can truly act as an autonomous, goal-driven collaborator in core processes? The time for mere exploration, for simply bolting on AI, is rapidly ending. The time for scaled strategic transformation with agentic AI is now.